Yes, the verdict in the Rick Chow murder trial sparking a strong reaction here in South Carolina and beyond. In the last 24 hours, News 19's coverage has generated more than 20,000 article views, while Google trends show over 50,000 searches related to the case nationwide. On social media, thousands more comments, videos, and reactions across X, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. News 19's Kiki Gushu speaking with people across the area today. She's now live in front of the Richland County Courthouse where the trial ended last night. Kiki?
We have been out in Columbia today in parks and in restaurants along Main Street, and we've been asking people one question: what is your reaction to this verdict? Now, we've been hearing mixed reaction. We've been seeing people online and we heard a lot of support for Cyrus, and then when talking to people out on Main Street, there were several people who chose not to go on camera but said they did agree with the jury's decision in the verdict in this case of the not guilty verdict for Mr. Chow. Now, we have some sound from those people, and we want to give you that reaction. It's going to come a little bit later here in the show. We will be working to bring you that reaction. JR?
All right, our Kiki Gushu outside the Richland County Courthouse. We're also hearing from the family attorney for the Carmack-Belton family, Todd Rutherford. He says he plans to file a civil lawsuit against Rick Chow. Rick Chow pulling the trigger, I should say, and killing Cyrus Carmack-Belton was never in doubt in this case. However, the jury had to decide whether or not Chow's actions constituted murder, and they decided it did not. Tonight, our Whitney Sullivan is getting reaction to that decision from attorney John Mobley.
The first question I have to ask, were you surprised when you heard them say not guilty?
Well, Whitney, as always, I got to call it like I see it. To say I was shocked would be an understatement. When I looked at so many factors in this case, the ones that I call the intangibles, when you have this defendant who they're trying to portray as this humble shop owner, yet he's surrounded by three of the most expensive, well-known defense attorneys in the state. I didn't think that was a good look for him. I thought that made him look unsympathetic. I thought that made him look like the jury's thinking, man, maybe they've got a strong case against him that needs all these lawyers. I didn't like from the defense standpoint, the dynamic that the person that was shot and killed was a teenager and actually had not committed any crime. It wasn't on the premise, I think, going into it, that although they had a job to do and they were doing a very great job with this defense, that the deck was stacked against them. So again, I was shocked to say the least.
And we're seeing that echo across social media, where there are a lot of community members who were shocked by the outcome of this as well. So that leads me to my next question. Where do you think things possibly broke down for the prosecution in presenting this case?
Well, I will say this as a caveat that, I do a lot of commentary on legal cases, and it's always difficult to critique the lawyers that just out of respect and courtesy. I know all these prosecutors. I've tried cases with them. I've worked with them. I know the defense attorneys. I know the judge. So, however, you kind of have to, be straight on something like this, and yes, it's Monday morning quarterbacking, but, from opening statements, one of the vast contrasts that I saw between the prosecution and the defense, where I believe the prosecutors dropped the ball, is they didn't really do much to humanize the victim in the case. And I remember listening to both opening statements, and while the prosecutor, the solicitor, did mention he was 14 years old, that was kind of it. Had I been prosecuting that case, I would have talked about not only his age, but where he went to school, what he liked to do for fun, what video games he liked. I would have wanted to bring him to life so the jurors could have some image of this young man, this life in their mind, and they just didn't do that. Something I would have done differently if I was a prosecutor, and I don't think that they really leaned into the fact that this teen was hunted. They talked about him being chased out of the store about a bottle of water. That was kind of their big theme. They kind of hung everything on that, all about a bottle of water. This team was hunted. I mean, 130 yards. And I remember when, in opening statements, when they talked about that, one thing I thought was great was he described that it was that 130 yards would be the equivalent of a football field goalpost to goalpost. Had I given that opening statement, I would have had that picture up there. I would have had a visual picture of a football field from goalpost to goalpost so the jury could see how far they hunted. These two grown men hunted this 14-year-old.
And we're going to hear more from John Mobley on the makeup of the jury coming up in the second half hour of Friends at 5. For his full interview right now, plus complete coverage of the trial, you can download the free News 19 app by scanning the QR code on your screen. There you can watch courtroom recaps, read the latest developments, and catch up on every major moment in the case.